Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
7:06 now on O'Connor and Company. Thanks for tuning in here to our busy Tuesday morning. Coming up in 30 minutes, our pal Matt Foldy from the Washington Reporter just came back from Israel, where he, spent most of the time in bunkers as missiles were raining down on Tel Aviv. But now it appears we have peace, or at the very least a ceasefire, and hopefully a lasting peace. Coming up at 8:35, Congressman Jim Jordan, chairman of the Judiciary Committee. We'll see if he'll take up Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's impeachment plans over President. How dare President Trump bomb Iran and their nuclear capabilities and bring peace to the region? He must be impeached. That's where the Democrats are on this. I'm Larry O'Connor with Julie Gunlock. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning.
We are watching history unfold before our eyes. Don't get me wrong. I'm, cautiously optimistic, and certainly not popping fireworks and champagne bottles quite yet, because, there's one player in this whole affair that you can't really trust, and that's Iran. They're a terrorist state, have been since day one, and it's hard for them to make peace with the great Satan. That said, it appears the events of the weekend have led to a ceasefire that the president announced yesterday, and it seems to be holding so far. So what does this mean in the long run? Let's check in with Guila Siegel, Chief Operating Officer for the Jewish Community Relations Council of Greater Washington. Thanks for joining us, ma'am.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, from your perspective, what is your sort of assessment of the president's decision over the weekend to use military force against Iran's nuclear capabilities, and then his continuous calls for peace and what appears to be Iran's acquiescence?
First of all, I think that there was pretty much wall-to-wall support in the organized Jewish community for the president's decision over the weekend. Iran is a terrorist state. Iran has been responsible for destabilizing the Middle East for decades. Iran has stated its desire to destroy Israel and destroy the United States. And while I think that Israel was prepared to handle this war on its own, America has vital interests in defeating Iran and removing and destroying their ability to be a nuclear power. Now, as far as peace goes, I think that waking up this morning has been a very similar feeling to waking up many mornings over the last 2 weeks, in that events are moving very quickly, and that we're at a very fragile moment. The ceasefire was announced, and it seems that Iran broke that ceasefire. And we know that at least 4 people were killed in Beersheba in southern Israel. And so we can only hope that President Trump's desire to have a ceasefire now holds, and that the parties can make it through this rough, fragile period at the outset here.
Yeah, the accusations from Israel, and it is true that that Iran fired missiles, is unsettling. Do you think that we can trust Iran in this ceasefire, or are they just sort of regrouping and in a planning stage? I think that I don't mean to be an Eeyore here, but I think their sudden sort of capitulation was shocking to people. And again, then with the firing of those missiles, do you feel like Iran can be trusted in their acceptance of this ceasefire?
Look, time will tell. I think it's a matter of looking at where Iran is severely weakened. It was going into this, it was in a weakened position because Israel had defeated Hezbollah. Israel had seriously weakened Hamas. These are their essential proxies. And in Syria, they also were completely weakened.
Yeah.
So I think it's a matter of proceeding cautiously and being vigilant and understanding the party who we're dealing with here. In the end, there's going to have to be a ceasefire, and there's going to have to be diplomatic negotiations to ensure that Iran does not regroup in the way that you said, to ensure that at this point Iran understands that after these attacks that it cannot flout international mechanisms for ensuring that they don't become a nuclear power.
So how does one move from a ceasefire, whether it's being respected or not remains to be seen, I understand, to an actual lasting peace? There are some calls for Iran to acknowledge that they have lost, that they must capitulate, and they need to surrender, basically, and say, okay, no more. Actually have a formal surrender of these hostilities and surrender to the war. Would that do it as well, or nothing short of regime change at this point, considering the history of this regime?
I think that regime change was never the stated goal of these military actions that were taken by Israel and the United States. If regime change happens, that is a natural consequence, and that's something that it would be a very positive development for the Iranian people, most of all. As far as how we make it to the next stage, I think there are going to have to be concrete deliverables and an agreement from Iran to allow very strict monitoring. For example, it seems to be very unclear at this point as to whether Iran removed uranium from Fordo. And if they did, where is it? And I know that the vice president said yesterday that on this issue that even if that was the case, the Iranians no longer have the capability to bring that uranium from 60% to 90%, which would be what they would need to do in order to create a nuclear weapon. But I still think that that's very, very worrisome. That was very clear from the time that the U.S. Attacked the Iranian nuclear facilities on Saturday night. Was what had Iran done? Had they removed the uranium? What was there, and how much damage was done to their ability? It seems that Israel and the United States set Iran back several years, but I still think the information is unclear.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there as we continue to watch the developments, and we have some statements from the president this morning as well. We'll share that with our listeners in just a moment. But in the meantime, thank you, Guila Franklin Siegel of the Jewish Community Relations Council of Greater Washington. Thank you.